So that just gave you a little bit of a taste. That's called Somewhere Else, music video. And I absolutely love that styling. It's really opulent, it's really kind of glamorous, and it's kind of dark and dirty as well. It's perfect. So a few more pieces of research and reference that I wanted to talk about. We have Palace Jeans. They're obviously a really cool skatewear brand, but they've brought out their jeanswear range for fall winter 17, which is kind of a bit Western and kind of a little bit 80s. It's absolutely perfect for this story, a little bit cheesy and a little bit in your face. John Lawrence Sullivan is perfect for in here. He's a Japanese designer who's been going since 2003, but his latest collection has gained tons of attention for this sort of Western aesthetic. So he's really kind of one of the guys who's spearheading this Western look. I'm going to mention Karl-Heinz Weinberger later. He's a photographer who shot amazing 50s and 60s Swiss bikers, but I'm going to talk about him later. On the next page, we have a few more pieces of research and reference. One of the really key looks for this season is what they call Paninari style. And Paninari style is basically in the sandwich bars of Milan, hence Panini, hence the name. In the 80s, they had this love of classic Americana and ostentatious design labels like Ralph Lauren. And these Italians would wear American cowboy boots and Western wear, but in this sort of cheesy Italian direction. So that's kind of perfect and sums up this story really well. A couple of other things I wanted to point out on this page are a couple of photographers. There's a photographer, David Black, and he created this series of photos called The Lodge. And he shot them in the edge of Death Valley. It's a place called Cerro Gordo, and it's a ghost town that was once the greatest producer of silver in California. And the other photographer is a guy called Jim Krantz, and this is an interesting story. He's been documenting the American West and its people for 20 years. And he went to Texas to photograph cowboys for a Marlboro advertising campaign a good 20 years ago. And his style of photography was actually ripped by a guy called Leo Burnett. And he based his photography on Jim Krantz's rugged cowboy looks for Supreme. I will talk about that a little bit later as well. You can see the examples. So next we go into styling. So this is very subversive rodeo and Western wear that fuels this sort of the high-waisted, the cinched-in silhouettes, the exaggerated jeanswear styling, and it gives this very new take on the Texan tuxedo. And rodeo is really important here. Taking inspiration from real-life rodeo, emerging brands opt for layered styling, brash and bold color, and a durable denim attitude. But it's definitely got this quite kind of subversive vibe about it, as you can see, a very tongue-in-cheek look. And then 80s, we're definitely seeing the 80s coming in as a really important decade. And it's feeding into a couple of stories, but particularly this one. I love Redone. Their latest lookbook for this fall is perfect right here. Kind of looks a bit like Brooke Shields in the Calvin Klein adverts of the 80s as well. And then I mentioned Palace Skateboards earlier. Other examples here from Palace Skateboards, which is absolutely perfect. So a few more examples of the Paninari boys of the 80s. Palace Skateboards, who I mentioned, have put out this lookbook. And as you can see with the center image there, this look with the big belt buckle, the stonewashed jeans, and then the sweatshirt with the necklace on the outside is looking super, super 80s, which is perfect for in here. And then also M1992, who I mentioned earlier, absolutely bang on. They actually used Paninari style as the key inspiration for this season. And I've called this slide Vegas Baby. So as I mentioned earlier, this story is definitely the more kind of holiday, more glitzy, glamorous look. So looking at chintz and glitz and desert glam is absolutely perfect for in here. I particularly love Capital, the Japanese brand, and they shot their recent ad campaign and lookbook in Las Vegas. And I love this look, top right image with our guy with the stonewashed jeans, the big belt buckle, and then the very tailored look. It's sort of mashing up all of those styles together in this very cheesy way. Which leads me into the next slide called Texan Tailor. So this is very much like a denim meets tailoring desert rat dad. So big shoulders are starting to come back. This sort of very sort of tailored look. The cowboy hat on here with the suit. Loving File Papa. I mentioned them earlier. They're really bang on trend as far as everything is concerned at the moment. But I'm loving that look with the lilac sort of elongated tailored jacket there. It's absolutely perfect. So this is